Welcome once again here on Regional Radio Sports. Here we're at Bethel University. I had to be joined by Natalie Newell, women's softball coach here at the Pilots. Blessed to have a chance to watch her play when she was here. Outstanding high school student athlete out of Goshen. As a matter of fact, a Miss Softball runner-up. Just looking over the resume, it's kind of awe-inspiring. Just kind of give you some numbers. 1,101 strikeouts, 56 wins, 103 RBIs, 15 homers, 168 hits, 418 batting average. She's in the Elkhart County Sports Hall of Fame. And that doesn't even include what she did here at Bethel. And we're glad to be joined here by the two-time NAIA All-American. And Matt, when you look back on the playing time at high school, and now you look at where you're at right now as the head coach. Of course, you were coaching at Iowa Speed for a while. You're assistant working with Brittany. You look at all the stops along the way. What's different about coaching this generation, as they call it, Gen Z, versus when you were playing?
Oh, man. I think just the world we live in general is different. The way they interact is different. The way they spend their free time is very different. So just coaching to their level and interacting with them on their level, which is different than how maybe I was interacted with my coaches and different things, has been interesting and fun to learn just about what makes them, what intrigues them, what they like to do in their free time. So that's kind of been the biggest thing, is just taking, okay, well, this is how I did it, this is how I learned, this is how I was coached, but now how do these kids need to do it? And doing it to their strengths, I guess, coaching to their strengths then.
One thing that it's an old football thing that I heard from the legendary Eddie Robinson, the coach at Grambling University, says, I don't think you can coach them if you don't love them. Mm-hmm. And I think that's something that has spanned the generations, as if your players know that you love them and you have their best interests and concerns in your own heart, that supersedes a lot of the X's and O's that you may be good at or maybe not good at. And that really is the end all when it comes to coaching. Is that right?
Absolutely. I talk a lot about, in my own coaching philosophy, what I'm looking at constantly is, okay, am I coaching them on the X's and O's, but am I getting to know them on a deeper level? Am I investing my time in them in the right ways? Coaching hard, compete hard, love harder. So yeah, really building that trust and that relationship with them on a deeper level than just what can they give me on the softball field. Do
you feel that it's easier to coach the intangibles, the things, the love, the care, all the effort, versus the technical aspects, the X's and O's, moving body part here, the body part there to get them to be able to hit, or in your case, is one of the all-time greatest pitchers in NEI history. Is it harder to coach those things versus the intangibles?
I think coaching the technique, watching them, what are they doing, how can we do that better, the measurement stuff is a lot easier than, building the relationships. It just takes more time, it takes more effort. It's so easy to just watch them, to view them and be like, okay, we're doing this wrong, we're doing this well. But getting to know them on a deeper basis, we're dealing with human beings. So it's a whole nother level of difficulty when you're bringing in human beings and emotions and everything it takes to coach the whole person.
There was a point in time here where the Pilots were one of the premier teams in the NEI here, when Anna Welsh was here, and then when Brittany Lightfoot took over, and certainly, and when you were here. I mean, there's an amazing amount of success, as similar to what we see with Bethel men's basketball, where they have some, decades upon decades of success. And then there was some dry times, let's use it that way. And so you're at the bottom of this dry times, and you're trying to rebuild the program. Mm-hmm. Do you go back and say to the gals and to the future pilots, this is what we want to be able to get back to? So talk about your philosophy in that regard.
Yeah, we will be back. That's kind of been the goal, is building Bethel back into what I would consider a dynasty. The girls they know the track record of where Bethel used to be, and I feel like they show up every day wanting to be better than where we've been. So yeah, we're definitely working hard at that. We're building the culture along with the physical aspect of things. But I think the culture, when you look back on those really good teams, the culture was huge. It was a place where kids wanted to come. It was a family. They worked hard. They held each other accountable. So we're working really hard to get back to that, and just continuing to build from an athletic standpoint then on the softball field, but allowing our relationships, our culture to build that success into wins in the win column on the softball field.
Another thing is, you look back on what this institution has had You look about what Coach Tony Natalie had when he was the track coach here. I mean, here is the team that wins national championships without a track. So how does that kind of stuff happen? It was about culture and dynamics and spiritual development. So let's talk about the spiritual development aspect of an athlete that comes into your program.
Sure, I think that's what makes Bethel special is we can invest in our student athletes in a whole different way. And I love that piece. I think that's just that formation of them as human beings is way more important than anything else. But I think that when we can build those kinds of things and transform them internally, it translates into what we can do on the softball field. So I think that's a huge part. I love getting to coach from a spiritual standpoint and share my faith with my girls. And I just think that's a really neat piece of being part of Bethel.
Well, one interesting dynamic is that for a couple of seasons, you were the head coach at Indiana University South Bend, and you were there as an assistant with Brett when she went over there. So you had a chance to not only coach in a state-sanctioned school, and now you're in the private institution as you back here at your alma mater. Give us an idea, what's the differences between coaching in the public school versus the private sector?
Sure. I mean, we're still dealing with kids 18 to 22 years old. I'm still coaching the game of softball, but yeah, the spiritual side of things has been the biggest difference that I found. And I felt a little bit pigeonholed at times, being at a state institution. So I love that I can just freely kind of share those things and invest in my girls, and dive deeper into those spiritual conversations and where are they at? How can I help them? How can I support them? So that's been a really fun piece to explore.
One thing about softball compared to all the other varsity sports that we see, maybe with the exception of golf, I would say that one student athlete can really tremendously change the fortunes of a program. One dynamic pitcher, and you understand this because you were that. I mean, the numbers are crazy. 4-time all-conference performer, 3-time conference player of the year, Capital One all-academic time, 3 times. So you understand the dynamics from a successful player standpoint. So how do you sell a young lady on saying, listen, I want you to come here to Bethel University, and you are going to be the person that we're going to build this program and return it to its one-time glory?
Sure. I don't think I ever look at just an individual. It really is about the team. I mean, I'll be honest, those accolades are great. I would have never been able to accomplish half of those things without my teammates, without having great catchers, without having, great hitters that were on base. Sure. So I could hit them in. So we really look at it as a team aspect. Obviously it really helps to have great pitching, to have that, really strong pitcher in the circle. That's huge. And we're always looking to build those pieces, but I think the value of a team is far more important than what any individual can give us. And if we can continue to build that team mentality, we're going to be immensely successful.
Okay, let's give us a sneak preview of this upcoming spring. Kind of give us an idea on where you guys are at and what's and you look at the big picture of returning starters, returning contributors, as well as some incoming kids that are going to make an impact.
Yeah, we've got a great group of returning kids, some good experience from last year. I'm super excited about our incoming class, our freshmen. I think they bring a lot of talent and some extra depth in places. We'll have 2 returning pitchers, Hannah Frady, Ryan Norris in the circle for us, so that will be huge to have 2 quality pitchers. MEP will also be doing a little bit of pitching for us this year, which is awesome. We'll have Megan Younger, who's finally able to play in some games for us this year. She wasn't eligible to play last year, so we're really excited to get her on the field, see what she can do. And like I said, just some really key freshmen that I think are going to step up and play some innings for us and be impactful. So I'm excited to see as our talent pool has grown, just how their mentality has grown, how our culture has grown, and see how that translates into spring season this year.
One thing that all coaches that are involved in the Crossroads League kind of have to deal with is there are so many talented institutions in the same league. So it makes those growing pains really, really, really painful. We see this all the time, and this is across the board from men's basketball to baseball to softball to everywhere you go. It's difficult to grow up in this league. It kind of humbles you. So let's talk about the Crossroads League, some of the lessons that you're going to learn. I know last year you won 9 games and lost 27, but I'm sure there was a lot of lessons learned that's going to make you better this year.
Tons of lessons learned. I think, we were really close at certain times of really being able to push through that glass ceiling that seems to be there right now. But we learned a ton. We grew a ton. I think skill-wise we grew, but I think our mental approach has grown. We've kind of approached things different at times with our practices and how can we be more mentally tough. And just last year we were really young, not a ton of returning experience. We bring back so much more experience this year. So I think that just having that experience in a tough league is going to be crucial for us. And we're gonna see the impact of that, I think, right away. But we do play in a tough league, which is awesome. I love playing the best of the best, and it does kick you in the butt sometimes, but I think overall it makes us better. And if you don't want to play the best, then I don't think you really want to be the best. So, playing a tough schedule isn't a bad thing. I think it's a great thing, and we're going to continue to raise the level of our program up until we're at the top of this league.
I always like coaches to share the dynamics of who were the people the most influential in your life. So I want you to think back on all the people along the way. Pick out 3 or 4 coaches along the way that have said, hey, listen, they put those values in you, maybe those techniques, maybe motivated you to get to the next level. So who are the people in Natalie Newell's life who were those mentors?
Oh, gosh. The first person that comes to mind is my very first travel ball coach. His name was Bill Sawyer. That man would yell at me, but he taught me so much, and so much of the fundamentals I learned, I go back to. I think of my JV softball coach who really invested a lot of time in me. She knew I wasn't going to play volleyball past freshman year, but really grew me as a person. And then I can't not mention Brittany Lightfoot. She's been so impactful on my life, and I don't think I'd be sitting right here today if it wasn't for her influence and her investment and her encouragement and belief in me. So as a player and as a coach, we grew through it all together, so I owe a lot to her.
Your thoughts on multi-sport athletes? I think it's the greatest thing to do is get a guy or a gal to play multiple sports. You get coached by different types of personalities, and they motivate different ways. In closing, let's just talk about the importance. You were a dynamic 4-year performer in 2 sports, so walk me through the importance you feel of getting an athlete who has experienced the same things that you experienced.
Yeah, I love multi-sport athletes. I think the lessons you learn through different sports is huge. I think the physical side of it, the mental side of it, just being able to be coached by different people, just their competitiveness, their ability to multitask and handle, time management really well. So I think there's so many pros to being a multi-sport athlete. I love when I am recruiting kids and I hear those things. It tells me a little bit about them and what they're able to do. But I loved my time as a multi-sport athlete. I think from a mental standpoint, it gave me a break from softball when I needed it. It pushed me in other ways when I needed that push. So yeah, love multi-sport athletes. I think it's really important.
Natalie Newell, head coach here at Bethel University, winner of the Ron Paulson Award winner her senior season. That's going to do it here from Bethel University. Thanks for joining us here on Regional Radio Sports.